Hey everybody, Kelly here. So this week's project I've had to do some thinking about. So as I'm filming this, it's actually the weekend before Halloween, but this is probably going to get posted the weekend after Halloween. So I actually have 3 different kind of kits. Really only one of them was a kit. The rest of them I've kind of cobbled together out of scraps that I purchased from, or scrap bags that I bought from So Yeah, or I think I think this package right here actually came mostly from Fat Quarter Shop right there. And so it was just leftover pieces of the collection. But all 3 of these are by J. Wecker Frisch. So this one is actually her old maid collection from 2021, and I've never got it assembled, but it was mostly because I had other projects going on, I think, and this, like I said, this was just something that I assembled from items that were on sale from the collection, and so I've never really sat down and figured out exactly what I want to design to do with this one. So it's funny because this is the 2021 collection, and this is probably the first one that I should do, but it's actually probably the last one that I'm going to do this week. And I may, if I don't get to it this week, I may just go ahead and hang on to this for next year again. But the other 2, I think are fairly easy. So this one right here is actually from 2022. It's her Mad Masquerade collection, based off Alice in Wonderland, the Mad Hatter. And so in a couple of different So Yeah scrap bags, I actually received 2 of this same panel. So it's actually a very long panel, and I am going to take one of the other pieces that I received, which has all the little, well, in the Old Maid collection, they're called the playing cards. They're not that, they're that kind of style, but they're not really playing cards. But anyhow, there's 48 altogether on this panel, but I think there's only 16 different ones. But 48 will get me 24 per side, and I have figured out how to do the pattern in such a way that I can cut out each of these squares individually and then use this fabric right here to frame the squares, and then use those squares to frame the actual panel here. And I'm going to do basically the same pattern on, well, I'm going to do the exact same pattern on both panels, and then I will just sandwich them together into one quilt. Or halfway through this, I might just change my mind and decide to do 2 quilts and sell one of them. Something like that. I might sell both of them, who knows. But anyhow, because I'll be honest with you, Mad Masquerade, I like J. Wecker Frisch collections, but this Mad Masquerade one isn't really my style. The main panel isn't my favorite, I guess is what I want to say. I like the characters, alright, it's really nice for Halloween time, but the main panel just doesn't really speak to me. But anyhow, I'm still going to go ahead and put it together, and like I said, either it'll be all in one quilt, or maybe I'll make 2 quilts. I don't really know right now if I make 2 quilts what I'd use for the backing, but maybe I'll figure it out as I go along this week. So there's that project, and then the next project that I would like to get done this week as well, that I do like the panel for quite a bit, is another Halloween one of J. Wecker Frisch, called the Queen of Ween. So a lot of you that are sewers or quilters already know this pattern, and I think it'll be fairly easy. It's really just the panel itself with some strips around it, and then I think probably like 10-inch squares. I haven't actually read the pattern, so I'm not sure, but so that'll be fairly quick and easy, and should be able to get that done this week. I have also added in here, apparently I picked up one of the panels from this collection, probably in one of my scrap bags again, and so I will either again just use this on the back, or I'm actually thinking if I have enough scraps left, if I come up with enough scraps from all my other Halloween stuff, I may just come up with another quilt for these pieces here. We'll see. Sometimes I don't know until I start getting into the project what exactly I'm gonna do. All right, so yeah, but this was from this year, so I think I've got that right. I think Old Maid was 2021, Mad Masquerade was 2022, and actually let me look here real quick. Yes, 2023. So I definitely should get this one done. That way I can actually have one project that was from this year that I got done this year, right? So, but yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do tomorrow. All right. Okay, I'm giving myself a bit of leeway on cutting these out. The panels a lot of times are very stretchy. It's the material for them. They're just very stretchy, and unfortunately on something like this, it is so close to the edge. When I go to actually do my 1/4-inch seam, I really think I'm gonna have quite a few of these where you can see the black line, and quite a few where you can't see the black line, and I think it's probably going to be not fantastic, but I will do the best that I can. And because I thought about cutting inside the black line, but then I'm cutting off words and I'm cutting off parts that I actually want to be able to see. So when I cut the first strip, it's funny because when I cut the first strip, I actually only had 1/4 of an inch between blocks. So I cut them at about 1/8 of an inch on each side. And that is really odd to me because now I'm cutting the next strip and I have about 1/2 inch between. So I'm cutting them 1/4 inch. So I may get down through the rest of this pack of strips and find out that it was all supposed to be 1/2 inch in between. I just wonder if maybe the first strip that I cut, if maybe it was kind of printed off, or you know, if it was just misshapen and that's why it felt like it was only 1/8 of an inch. But most of them should be right on 1/2 inch between the two squares. So anyhow, I'm just trying to give myself a little bit of grace here. I think what I'm going to do is actually cut my outer fabric for these blocks and cut them oversized, and then I think I'm going to come up with a plan that kind of does something like this down the side where their blocks are kind of at an angle. And then that way, you know, the angle doesn't have to be perfect, and that way they won't have to be exactly straight and exactly matching, etc. Or I could possibly just offset them like this. Maybe if I just did a strip on each side and then just sewed this to the actual panel. I don't really like that. I would want to have a break between the panel and these blocks. So maybe I'll put strips around the panel and then just sew this side right to the strip that's on the panel, and then just have a strip right here that's next to another strip. I don't know. I kind of think I like the angled idea, but I really do feel like I'm gonna have a lot of places where I'm not gonna end up seeing the black line, but we'll see. And that just really threw me off, that was only 1/4 of an inch between this style of block, and maybe it was just this style of blocks in particular, because nope, they're the same size, but maybe this one was, oh, there you go, that's it right there. That was my problem. This strip actually had more height in this particular block. I wonder if any of the others are like that. That's gonna totally throw me off. Alright, well, I am gonna have to figure that one out. I'll have to see if I have any others in these strips that are oversized. Totally seemed, in the larger panel, they totally seemed all the same size, but that would be why, because this block is the same size as these, but that was larger, so that took up some of my empty space between the blocks. So yeah, I really should have just cut this with the 1/4 inch seam and then just cut into the picture on that on this one. But what's done is done, and like I said, if I overcut the strips that I'm gonna put around these blocks and then cut it down at an angle, honestly, you probably won't know the difference in the size of this block. But that's kind of frustrating. I don't think there are any others. I will definitely keep an eye out now. Okay, so I'm hoping that I figured this out correctly to be able to get enough horizontal and vertical strips. I am probably going to have to piece a couple of them together for the back, but that's alright. As long as I can at least get enough go in the right directions for the front. And I haven't got them totally cut down, but I just wanted to make sure that I was getting enough strips that the frame will go in the same direction. And I thought that way too, if I have to piece any strips together, hopefully I've figured it out correctly so that if I do have to piece any strips together, it'll be the vertical strips that I'm piecing. I find that a lot easier to match up than if I had to try to match up horizontally. It could be kind of a nightmare. So, whereas vertically you can just kind of try to figure out where to put your seam in, and yeah, so I should end up with like 6 or 7 blocks that have to have the sides pieced, but that's alright. Alright, so I am writing myself a note to put my scrappy vertical pieces on the blocks that were too long and too short. Okay, so I already goofed, but it's a pretty easy goof to fix. So I did all my math for how the distance that my pieces need to be, or I guess I shouldn't say distance, the height and width that my pieces need to be. However, the thing that I forgot is that I need 48 blocks, which means I actually need 96 side pieces and 96 top and bottom pieces, and I only accounted for getting 48 of each out of this fabric. But that's gonna be okay. I have a solution. So I actually have an orange fabric, which I believe I purchased at the, I don't know if it was the same time I purchased this kit or if it was for the Old Maid. But I think I got it on sale and got like 5 yards of this orange. So hopefully I don't need it too much of it for the Old Maid, because I just cut a yard off of it basically. But anyhow, that's kind of my plan, is to make my block similar to that. It's probably going to be a little bit shorter there. Okay. So anyhow, to do my block like, well, actually you can't see it. Let me try to move it. To do my block more like this right here. So like In Jail on top and orange on the bottom. And this is one of the ones with the most orange in the print, so I thought I'd use that for the example to see how much I'm gonna like having the orange next to it. And actually, you know what, in a way I think I like this better. It's funny sometimes how that works. But yeah, my original thought was to have this all the way around framing it, but I kind of like this better. It's going to make it a little bit more colorful. So yeah, that kind of a faux pas moment making my plan is probably going to make it nicer. So all right, I'm going to finish up these blocks and come back, and I will actually cut them at an angle then. So I thought I would be smart and take some of my blocks and my traveling mat and my cutter and rulers to work and be able to cut some of the blocks while I was at lunch. And guess what? It's not very smart when you forget it at work. So I not only didn't get any blocks cut on my lunch because I got busy with other things on my lunch, and then I forgot it there, and etc. And so I have worked on my Queen of Ween quilt tonight. So I've got that done. Let me show you her here. It was pretty simple. It was literally just put a border in the center and then just sewing the squares together and making another border around it. So it's not real huge. I could actually throw another border on it of a different fabric that I have, but it doesn't blend extremely well, so I'm kind of fine with just doing this more as a wall hanging than as a actual quilt, which it could still be a lap quilt, still an okay size. So anyhow, that is completed. But then I'm trying to decide what I want to use for a background for it. So mostly I'm thinking I'm not going to get this done right away. I'm actually probably going to fold this back up, figure out what background I like best with it, or backing, not background, backing that I would like best to use with it, and just put that with this, and I'm going to set it aside, and I'll probably come back to it around September, October of next year and get it completed and hang it for next year. Or sell it, one or the other. So I've picked out a couple possibilities here for the backing, I think. So I'm going to ask you guys to vote and give me a comment on why you would choose that backing. So this is kind of the one I'm leaning toward, so we'll call this backing A. It's more gray than the black that's in this quilt, but I really like the feathers to it. I think it kind of goes with a couple of the prints there, kind of blend with those nice. And so I think I have almost the perfect amount for the backing for this, so I'm kind of leaning toward that one. But then I also have here this print right here, which again is slightly different tone than the black in this. Let's see if I can get it closer so you can see a little bit better. It's actually more of a taupey gray tone to the background of this backing, and then the little windmills are actually more black, so that would kind of go. This is a very farm themed backing though, so I don't know, I might want to save that for something else. But and actually, what line was it from? Grown on the Family Farm. I'm not sure who that was by. It's a Moda fabric. Deb Strain. So this is probably a couple years old. And also, I would say it's at least a 5-yard cut. So there's probably, in fact, it might be a 108. So there's probably plenty there to do the backing for this quilt and still have a bunch of it left. So if I choose that one, I would probably cut exactly what I need for, well, you know, given a little border, but basically cut what I'll need to quilt this particular panel here, and then put the rest of it back in my stash. Same with this next option. So this is actually, well, I won't say the name of it just yet. I'll let you decide whether or not you think that might be an interesting one with this quilt. Let me see if I can stand up and hold it a little bit better. Or here. Let me try to do something like this and hold it up there. And hopefully you can kind of see and see. So it is very blue instead of black, but I don't know, on the backing it might be kind of interesting. So then actually the name of this line is Blue Holidays by Paintbrush Studio Fabrics. So I don't know, part of me says I would always know that it was called Blue Holidays and then I put it on a Halloween quilt. It doesn't really say Blue Christmas, it just says Blue Holidays. Halloween's a holiday, well, sort of. It's a celebration, let's put it that way, or a fun time for trick-or-treaters. How's that? Anyhow, I am really leaning toward option A, but option B would be the windmills, and option C would be Blue Holidays. So same kind of swirly type pattern, well, swirly pattern versus a feather pattern. I'm kind of leaning toward this, but comment below and let me know what you think. Alright, hopefully I'm about to get back to my Mad Masquerade quilt. Well, I never did get any of these cut at work during lunch, so I finally got them brought home, and I'm getting them cut now. And I actually have decided to go ahead and stack them and cut a few at a time. And if they're a little more than a little bit wonky, that's okay. It's my topsy-turvy quilt, so. Although I guess topsy-turvy, is that actually Mary Poppins reference? Anyhow, alright, let me... So my rulers are kind of funny there too because of the seam, but I guess you probably can't see it because of my hand. This might be a bad idea after all, but I need to try to... I want to try to get it done, so... Okay. I tell you what, I'm gonna Got the bottom right here. I actually got some good sized scraps out of this, so I may end up using them for the back of one of these. Alright, so now this seam is the problem. I probably shouldn't have stacked quite this many. I have 4. Uh-oh. A sharper blade might help too, but so it's a really bad cut, but and uh-oh, didn't go all the way through. Wait, yes it did. Okay, it did. Sorry. Moved my ruler and panicked for a second there. Yeah, so it's a pretty bad cut, but oh well, it'll help me get done a little bit quicker. And that's kind of what I need right now. And if it looks more topsy-turvy, that's fine. Well, I haven't quite got this laid out the way it's actually going to end up, but I just wanted to come on quick and show you. So this actually is going to be the side, one of the side strips. It's actually going to be 6 pieces all together, blocks all together, but I kind of got them laid out side by side because I don't have enough room. But so basically what I'm going for on the sides is that one block kind of tilts to the left and one block kind of tilts to the right. And so that's going to be both on both sides. One block will tilt one way and one block will tilt the next down the row. And then what happened is I realized when it comes to the top and bottom, I'm actually going to go ahead and tilt all the top going to the right and all the bottom going to the left. So this will be the bottom row right here. And the reason for that is because I do not want to match up the points on these blocks. Because I chopped them real wonky and, I mean, they're very similar, but I'm probably a hair off on a couple of them because I stacked them and chopped them. And so I don't really want to match up those points. So I thought, you know what, we'll have it looking like they're tumbling down the side. And on the top it'll be going one way and on the bottom it'll be going another way, and really it's not that big of a shift. I mean, you can kind of see it's probably 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch. I didn't actually measure it, so I'm not sure, but it's not a huge, it's not slanted sideways totally. It's just slanted ever so slightly. And so in the side rows it will be just a little bit of a topsy-turvy wave to it, but on the bottom and top row I think it'll be just fine if they're all leaning one way in the top row and all leaning the other way in the bottom row. And in fact it'll be much easier for me. So alright, now I'm going to get to sewing and hope that I am correct and that it is much easier for me and that it looks nice. Alright, so I finished both my tops, and on this one I actually chose to do the black on both sides and the orange on the other 2 sides. I only had so much length on the black, so I decided I would just do down the one side, and then I went ahead and did the bottom strip right away, and then I put the orange strip on the other side and on the top here because I have more length for that. So I thought it would be a little bit off, but I'm going to try it, and I think it turned out okay. Just to point out a couple of mistakes though. First one, I actually had 3 or 4 blocks that I had to do with slightly different framing. And so this block right here I took those 3 or 4 blocks and I thought I put them all in the pile for the other quilt, but apparently I put one in this quilt. So right here, I've got one that's slightly different than all the others because it's got the gray on the bottom instead of orange. I noticed it before I actually sewed the strips on, but I thought, And well, I mean, I noticed it after I sewed this strip on already, and I just thought, I'm not gonna worry about it. And then once I got my borders on, I noticed something else. I was trying to divvy up all my characters, sporadically put them all around, and somehow I ended up with the same one next to each other. But honestly, I didn't even notice that right away. It took me a little while. And once I did, then I'm seeing it quite a bit now, but honestly, I don't know. I look at it like playing cards, and sometimes you have a pair. So that's that one. And then the next one that I did it just a little bit different. Like I said, I had a couple blocks that I had to do a different frame, but I decided to do a little bit different border as well. And I don't know if I can get this one to where you can see the bottom of it too, but let me try. So I don't know if I'm hanging it up quite well enough, but you can kind of see basically what I did was I put a cornerstone on opposite corners. So black on the top and orange on the bottom. And then because my black pieces were just a little bit too short, I went ahead and put a scrap piece in right here. Well, and I went ahead and did the same scrap piece on the orange side. Just because I wanted it to kind of match. So let me see if I can hang it up here and show you this image a little better. Maybe. So I'm really not sure which one I like better. So I will probably keep one of them and sell the other one, or give to a friend or something like that. But suddenly I'm looking at it and wondering if I did the same thing and put a couple of the same blocks next to each other. I don't think so. I think I did okay on this one. But yeah, I think this is the one that I'm going to end up liking better. And it was really going to be the one that was, what's the word I want to say? It was not going to be the one that I kept for myself. But now I think I am. I didn't think I actually was going to have these right across, the same block right across from each other. I thought it was going to be one more up here and one more down there, but that actually works out too, because it had to be completely different, not having enough of the chain fabric. So that kind of, and if you really look at it closely, you'll realize that I cut some of my blocks wrong. I was going for half and half on whether they were kind of tilted to the right, to the left, or to the right. But I accidentally cut too many of them going one way. So like you can can see here, like from this one on down, they're all tilted to the left. And then that one goes to the right, left, right. And I think that was very similar on the other side. Actually, yeah, they're all tilted to the left. So a little bit scrappy, a little bit not exact, but I think I like this one the best. And at first I wasn't real thrilled with this panel, but I think I'm liking it now. Alright, well, I am not going to have any opportunity to get this quilted, so I will probably fold them up and save them to work on next